Hello everyone, and welcome to the Future of Dogs podcast, a place for the whole dog world to come together and ask the big why and what if questions that will shape the dogs of the future. Join me, Hannah Malloy, as we chat to some of the world's most groundbreaking professionals intent on enriching and evolving the future of dogs. This podcast is in association with Amplified Behaviour, my online learning video library for dog owners and dog geeks. Big thanks to my dog's favourite food and our season 1 sponsor, Nature's Menu. With over 40 years in the pet food business, Nature's Menu is Europe's leading expert in raw and natural pet food. So let's jump into the conversation.
So I was talking about earlier, I would be a dog trainer. We all want to do 50,000 things, right? But I had pretty extensive training, as I was sharing before the broadcast, in dog training. And I've trained 5 German Shepherds, a Rottweiler Doberman mix that we had for 11 years, and a German Shepherd that went to work with me and saw patients with me every day for 13 years. The most incredible healing agent for some trauma victims.
Oh, yeah.
You could tell stories about what this Shepherd would do that would just blow your mind. Similar to smelling out the cancer.
Yeah.
And then 2 years ago, when our Rottie Doberman died, which is the kid's dog growing up, we got a Doberman, and she's 2 now. But when we got the Rottweiler, we rescued her, and I've always loved the big, aggressive, working breeds. They're such great lovers. I find. And she was 8 weeks old or 10 weeks old, and our Shepherd had died, and so it was time for another dog. The girls were little. They were 5 and 7. And so I called my dog trainer that had helped me before, and she came over, and we got this little puppy, and she's the cutest thing you've ever seen. And so my wife and the 2 girls were in the backyard, and she's talking to us, and the puppy's kind of out there in the grass. Well, we're standing here, the puppy's over there, we're talking, and the puppy is doing this, kind of looking out, at the yard, and the trainer is watching, and she's watching, and she says, "Okay, I'm going to have to be honest with you. I don't know the dog's history, but with young kids and kids in the house," she said, "I'm going to give this dog about a 50-50 chance of making it." And we're like, "What are you talking about? She's the cutest thing I've ever seen." She said, "She is, but that's predator behavior." And if you notice, we've been here quite a while, and she hasn't looked at us once. She said, "So before we start any training, we've got to build the deep connection with you and Riley. So here's what I want you to do. I want everybody to carry treats around in their pocket for the next week. Every time she makes eye contact, I want you to just give her a treat. In the kitchen or wherever you are, in the yard, whenever she looks at you, you give her a treat." So we all did this. Well, by the next week, Riley's running around like this. She's just looking at. But she said, "Okay, now the relationship is getting secure, and the mirroring and the empathy, and the dog knows that she's safe and all of this. Now we can start to do some training." And I was just blown away as a psychologist.
So good.
When you build a human, the first year of life has no job description of performance or expectations or language or anything. It's about attachment, and it's about bonding. And just the principle that behavior sits on top of relationship that's primary, that's when I got to be a dog trainer. I love this so much. Riley turned out to be the sweetest, and she was a good protector. I travel a lot, and I had two daughters at home with a wife, and I would leave. And I remember when the girls were like 10 and 11, we always had babysitters, and at some point, about that age, Tori and I were going out to dinner. We need to get a babysitter. And we both kind of went, "Why? Riley's here; they'll be fine." And we always felt great leaving the girls. If Riley weren't home, she'd be fine.
Yeah, and it's amazing with livestock. I know some people who are listening right now are going, "You left the dog with the children? Like what?" But actually, with livestock guarding breeds,
actually, it's the other way. Poor Riley, we're leaving the kids with you.
yeah, it's just like, guys. They do. They look at their children as livestock, as family to be protective over. And people, I think, mistake that. They forget actually across breed types that there are some breeds who are less comfortable in that environment when left with children than those who are more livestock guarding. But I'll still caveat right now that to just be cautious when leaving any dog with children at all times. But I love that. I love that you have managed
and like any human in trust, I mean, we're talking about at this point, there was like a 5 or 6 year track record. We would not endanger our kids.
There is so much crossover, isn't there? Actually, I find training people to understand dogs, it starts as a really beautiful foundation for teaching them about how to shape any behavior, their children's behavior, their own behavior. Once they start to understand how we can reinforce some things and what punishment can look like in various forms. And actually, a lot of the time, I think a lot of the dysfunction that can happen in the dog owner relationship is that they go, as you say, with limits before they have the love. And so many people are like, how can I stop my dog?
And way more limits than you need.
Yeah.
I mean, we may differ on this or not. I don't know. But I found with raising a puppy or any dog, especially a puppy, that when the safety and the attachment and the security is there, that it doesn't take harsh correction or lots of correction if you just show them that no and do this and you reward them for this and they learn, okay, that's a no, this is good. But dogs need a no in their head. I train all of my dogs to never step off a curb without permission. And if you do that, your dog will never get hit by a car if they get loose. I had the German Shepherd I told you about. She was trained to not get out of a car without permission, not get in a car without permission, never step out of the yard without permission, and never step off of a curb to cross the street without permission. Well, I was visiting my sister, and lo and behold, we didn't know she had a hole in the fence in the background. The shepherd got lost. We were gone for a few hours, and they backed up into this wilderness area over here, but over here is total development and shopping centers and all that. That shepherd lived in the wild for 2 weeks, never stepped onto a road.
Wow.
And we did find her after 2 weeks. But she needed limits in her head. She needed to know that's not okay. I can't go into the streets. I got to go hunt, a rabbit or something to survive. And so I think a lot of times people make mistakes, both in overcorrection and the types of correction, but also in not. Dogs want to please. Dogs are relational beings, and the reward of happiness in a donor's face, that gives just as much of a dopamine release in the dog's head as a treat does. And so they will just perform for love and positivity. They love to please you. It's their favorite thing. So anyway, I think you can err on both sides. Now, you can tell me what you think.
Oh, yeah, you could welcome to step over the thresholds, Dr. Cloud, into the dog training world. I think you could just absolutely smash through some amazing areas. There's so much crossover there. And you know what? I think it's true. We all do need limits. And I think one of the issues and the reason, again, for this podcast is that that we struggle to discuss and get into limits. So say, for example, when it comes to having a difficult conversation, somebody bringing something up becomes the problem, so we all have, we're very much in a cultural moment where opinion is king, and I've got an opinion and this is my opinion, and it's really difficult, I think, for the world to
and if I can be king, I'm going to start my own little country, right? I got my own little echo chamber. And now we got 46,000 different countries where everybody's king.
Yeah, super hard. And so for me personally, my ultimate heart song here is that, we do need some limits when it comes to changing culture in the dog world. Like, how do we breed? How do we train? Like, what should be the rules? And how can we have those conversations without us all just canceling people on Facebook is this new thing, how you can just, as you were saying, just leave the conversation and deny someone's opinion. And it's a difficult thing for us to, so I'm just going to try and see if I can sum up some of the points that you made so our listeners can take those away when we're stepping into having difficult conversations for the sake of changing something that we're both really passionate about, and just getting past some of the conflict that might ensue without these limits. So first of all, you said to be ready. So to think about, maybe even write notes, get ready, scrub up, make sure that you have cleaned your own heart and mind before you step into these conversations. Number 2 was to create some psychological safety in conversations. That's huge. Number 3 was to remind the other person that they've been heard. Maybe that's repeating something so what you're saying is, what I'm hearing you say is, and just maintaining that level of respect without going into judgmental behavior or cancelling or just getting really defensive or angry. Number 4 was to choose connection over rejection. And number 5 was to find the things that you agree on and to think about a conclusion that might get us both to where we're trying to go. So you put the problem on the other side of the table. It's so good. It's so good. It's such delicious teaching, Dr. Cloud. And I'm really excited to see how this starts to shape all of the rest of the episode in terms of having difficult conversations. So I guess my last question for you, just to see us out, is, when someone has taken a concept very personally, how might you help that person to come back from taking something personally? So, I have said, I want to change your breed indefinitely. What might I do if that person's just gone like, you are trying to stop me from being myself? And they do go into defense and aggression, as we so often see on social media. What would be your first point of call in that context?
Let's role play it. Okay, you be that person.
Sure.
And tell me, what is it you want to do?
I'm just thinking that, Cavalier King Charles Spaniels have so many genetic issues. And I know you're the chief of the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel Club, but I really think that we need to adapt the way that we breed this particular dog so that they aren't born with genetic issues that create pain for them later in life.
So it sounds like you're really, really concerned about the problems that it causes for the dogs.
Okay, so we'll switch. So I'll be the angry person. Okay, so I am the chief of the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel Club, and you're change it.
I'm sorry, I thought you were.
Oh, yeah, I was you. I've already learned so much. That's I'm going. So let's role play from the start. So I'll be the angry person that feels cancelled, and you can be the person who's trying to change my breed. So basically, I don't want to hear any of this. I've bred Cavalier King Charles Spaniels for the last 10 years. They're absolutely beautiful. They're an inherent part of our culture, and I don't think you should even be bringing this up, to be honest with you.
Sounds like you really, really love the breed and how it's working now.
Yeah, I do love the breed, and I don't think anyone should ever change it. I think it should stay exactly the way that it is, as it always has been for all of these years. I've had so many of these dogs, and they're just perfect, and I don't think you should go about trying to change them in any way.
It sounds like you've not experienced or seen any of the problems with this.
Well, okay, there have been a couple of my dogs who haven't been the healthiest, but that's not the dog's fault. And so, I don't think you should go at Cavalier King Charles like they're the problem. They're my breed, and I've always had them. And, what you'd be doing is just ending that line, and that's not okay.
Yeah. Well, also sounds like you feel like I'm trying to end the breed. That would be awful. Is that what you think? Is that what you feel like I'm trying to do?
Well, yes, because if you breed it out with a different breed of dog to give it more genetic diversity or whatever it is you're banging on about, like if we go down that route, then it won't be the same breed anymore. They'll be totally different, and we'll have lost something.
Gosh, I would hate to lose the essence of what a cocker is. I mean, who would want that? Would be terrible. I totally agree with that.
So then where do we go from here? Like, to be honest with you, I really find your opinion deeply frustrating, and I think the best thing for us to do is just not talk to each other ever again. Simple as that.
Well, that would make me sad, because I think you've got a really, really deep passion for the breed, as do I. And I think I could learn a lot from you as well. But it would make me sad if we couldn't talk about this. I think because, frankly, this conversation that we're having, a lot of people are having out there. And I think if you and I could figure out a way to sort of address all the issues involved in it, maybe we can make it more helpful for them as well. What I'd like to hear, and you said it a moment ago, you want to preserve the breed. I love breeds. I think we need breeds. Diversity is a good thing, right? But I'd love to learn more about your thoughts about the known pains that the dogs have and the things that happen to them, genetically. And I agree with something you said. Gosh, we should not blame the dog. I mean, what I hear is we're both trying to do here is try to help the dogs not have these problems. So talk to me a little bit about how you approach and what's some of your thoughts of how we should be approaching some of the genetic problems, whether it's hips or whatever it is.
So good.
See, I haven't said anything about my positions yet. I'm trying to engage them to let them know I really want to know what you know about this and what you feel about this. And so far, I've heard 3 or 4 things that I really, really agree with. And we haven't fixed it. I haven't even talked about what I think about this, that, it bums me out when every now and then we get a dog with 3 eyes. I don't like that, Can we help that? So, but I think you get the general idea, in the time we have that you look, nobody's going to follow you until they feel like they've been understood. The deepest desire of the human heart is to be understood. Why does a dog growl? Because somebody's not understanding that something's threatening to them.
Absolutely.
Hey, you don't say to the dog, you idiot, stop growling. People don't like to hear a growling dog. That's not what you do. You respect the growl. You listen to the growl. You get curious about the growl. And you try to solve the fear underneath the growl before you even talk about whether growling's good or bad. This person is holding that position. They're growling at you because something deeply important to them is being threatened. Yeah. So I want to hold the threat and make them understand I'm on the side of your threat. I might not be on the side of whatever your solution to your threat is, or even mine. But the last thing I want to do is attack a growl. What the heck am I thinking? If I attack a growl, I might get bit. And now you're not even want to talk to me again. The dog's going to run away. And that's not good. So that's kind of the general beginning, I think.
So good. So good. Thank you so much, Dr. Cloud, for all of your wisdom. It's just, I could talk to you all day. I think we've got a lot in common, and I really look forward to the crossover move that you take from the world of clinical psychology into dog training. Come on in, we need you.
Well, I've got to. First of all, when I stopped my show early in the year, my daily show, because the travel schedule this year just wasn't going to make it possible to do the daily. I'm going to be resuming it in some form. You have to come on with me sometime, and let's talk about dogs.
Yes.
Okay, but then I've got to ask you a question.
All
right.
Go shoot.
So we have a friend who it's been about 2 years now. Got an incredible Labrador puppy. And he is so afraid to leave the dog in the house. Mm-hmm. Okay, you ready for this? Mm-hmm. For 2 years.
Yep.
They don't go out to dinner. Nobody leaves the house unless somebody's there.
Yeah.
And he just won't leave the dog because he'll start eating books. I could teach him not to eat the books. Yeah. Well, he'll be too lonely. Dogs don't sit there and think about how mean you are and when are you coming back. They're kind of lost in their own time zone, and he probably wants to get away from his parents sometimes. So tell me what to tell him about leaving the dog at home.
Okay, so...
And he's also, and I don't know where, he's also like, I mean, from the beginning, he would not even entertain kennel training. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or, any kind of structure that would, and I've got my whole world of how I think puppies need to sleep. They need to rest a lot. Yeah. And then they need to be brought out and know it's playtime and training time and all this. But anyway, tell me how to tell my friend to leave his dog at home.
Yeah, such a good question. And I think, like all behaviorists, I just want to ask a ton more questions before I give advice. But generally, I think that the first thing to bear in mind is that, everybody's different in their styles of living with dogs. And what I always say to my clients is, it's not for me to tell you how to live with a dog. I don't have a recipe book that you have to bake a dog a certain way. I want you to tell me what dog life looks like for you individually. And then I'm going to make sure that the dog gets its needs met within that landscape of what you'd really like, and make sure that none of those cross over. So I'm only ever going to draw a line if someone says to me, Hannah, I want to have my dog sleep in my bed, and I also need to leave it for 10 hours a day. I'm going to say that's going to create separation anxiety. It will, because the place
they want to leave the dog in the bed, and what was the second?
So if someone says to me, I want to be able to have my dog sleep in my bed every night, but I also need to leave it on its own for 10 hours a day downstairs in the kitchen, that's a crisscross that doesn't often work. That's an intersection of choices that don't set the dog up to succeed, basically. So then my first question to the Labrador owner would be, what's the worst case scenario? And I would problem solve that with him to make sure that I understood, is it the house being destroyed, physically destroyed? Is it the destruction of property? Is it the emotional journey that the animal is going on? And that's how I would pitch certain types of change. So I agree with you wholeheartedly, especially for Labradors and gun breeds, so Spaniels and Pointers and most working dogs. If you are with them all the time, they tend to butler, and they're in standby mode, and they are constantly asking, are you okay? Do you need me now? What about now? Can I help you now? Is there anything that I can do for you now? What about now? And so it might be that for this owner, I say, look,
the sad thing is, it's the owner that's butlering all day, thinking the dog always needs something. It's like hovering and
And so maybe what I'd start with is teaching them how to teach the dog to relax separately from them within the room. So I'll show them that the dog is okay. If they're stressing out that the dog's not okay, I'll show them that the dog is actually much more content to relax elsewhere at a distance. And then we might start by putting in a protocol that says, you know, you can leave your dog if you've given him a ton of exercise and he's had some delicious food. Then he gets that like Sunday roast dinner feeling where you've been on a long walk, you've had a pub lunch, and then you have a sleep on the sofa. And that's what we want to create with separation, is just a period of time where the dog says, I am full, I am tired, and I need to sleep. And then we might start to have the dog be in a separate room within the house. So they're not leaving him, okay? They're not leaving him. They're just in a physically separate room. So then they can start to test, you know what, I'll leave a little camera on in the room that the dog is in, and I'll sit maybe on a Zoom in another room, and I can just observe. And the first sort of 15, 20 minutes, the dog will be chewing whatever I've given it to chew and enjoying that, and almost guarantee that the dog will then go, that was really delicious. And it might settle down and sleep. Or it might come up to the door and it might say, excuse me, this door is shut and I have barrier frustration because you've never not been with me for the last 2 years of my life. And so that's hard for me to cope with. But I'd also look at other factors. So if the dog is sleeping downstairs and they're already sleeping upstairs at night, they already leave the dog alone for 8 hours. So there's lots of little jigsaw pieces.
That would be a big step forward.
Yeah. So this is it. If they can start to say it's better for the dog, we can do it for short periods of time under a controlled situation, so that if the dog shows mild anxiety, we're just going to wait. And I'm going to set the dog up to succeed. So you teach separation. You offer the dog 3 or 4 alternative behaviors other than scratching and whinging that if they engage in, which they're likely to if they're frustrated, then you come back. So I will give my dog a bed, a chewy, a squeaky toy, and something novel that they want to play with, like empty milk carton or something. And then after they've chewed through their chewy and they go, oh, the door is shut and that's annoying. Excuse me, this is really annoying. We allow for a little extinction there. And then the dog's going to go, right, okay, I'm going to pick up my squeaky toy. And then I'm going to come back into the room and reward that behavior with me returning. So now we're teaching the dog what behavioral parameters get the thing that they want, which is you to return. And we can start going, I can leave them for short periods of time and the dog's not going to explode. Simple as that.
Well, I'm going to have to play this for him. I think one of the most important things to me as a psychologist that you've said there is I think people think all or nothing. And one of the most proven things we know about the psychology of learning is that it's incremental. And you take tiny baby steps forward. Nobody ever became a world record Olympian as a toddler by entering the Olympics. They got to learn to, crawl, walk, run. And I think that even in difficult conversations, if somebody says, why don't we try to talk about this for 5 minutes and then we'll change the topic, that incremental learning with some kind of positive outcome of that incremental step is so powerful. But also you said something else that I would like for people to hear. And that is that we know from, the biochemistry of the hippocampus where memory is stored and all of that kind of stuff, that learning something new only takes place in a state of arousal, because it takes the cortisol and the other stuff to kind of, bind the memories of all it's not traumatic. And so the fact that the dog is learning, I've got barrier anxiety, that's the key moment for them to learn that a barrier doesn't hurt me. And so to create a little anxiety, even when we go into a difficult conversation, to acknowledge this is going to be a little anxious, that's a great thing, because it's not going to overwhelm me and I'm going to be able to learn. I can have a disagreement and things aren't going to fall apart. So there's so many good things, I think, in what you said.
And that's key, actually, because, I think it is that point of I'm not over aroused. And that's a really hard, happy place to get to. And I think when I'm working specifically with separation anxiety or any other relational phobia. That's a very broad term. Please excuse me, the dog world. It's keeping the animal in that point of saying, he's not going to die, but actually I will intervene if the dog is genuinely in massive amounts of distress, because, actually you can push past that point, surely, of arousal where someone's having a panic attack, they're learning nothing. Like, there's not, you could put them in a complicated room, and if they've just tunnel visioned onto, I'm going to die and I cannot escape this situation, actually that's when learning can get interrupted. So, and that's hard, I think.
That's what I said about, there's a curve. We need a certain amount of arousal means we're awake.
Yeah.
And we can learn. But you can get over aroused to where you're, the higher functions of the brain actually shut down. You're not learning anything. You're just in a fight, flight, or freeze mode, and nothing good is happening. And that's why the incremental parts of this. The tricky part is when the dog or the person first starts to show the what did you call it? You had a term for it. The barrier.
Barrier frustration, yeah.
Barrier frustration is, and they start scratching. The tricky part is to not relieve that and come in, because now they're getting rewarded for exactly what you don't want them to do. And that's where people really don't. I watch dog owners all the time. They don't realize everything that you do is possibly rewarding what you don't want.
Yes.
And they don't realize that you are a reward system for your dog. Your expressions, your tone, your closeness, your looking away, all of those things are reward systems. And
so true.
It's powerful.
This is it. You know what? I love it, because it's so empowering for a lot of owners once you start to go, hey, wow, look how much he loves your eye contact. And maybe we'll just, say I'm shaping a mat behavior, and we just take that away for a little moment, and the dog's like, oh, I'm working really hard now because I've not got the thing that I normally get all day. And then the second they look, and the dog's like, it's really empowering for humans to start to realize, actually, my behavior makes a huge difference. And you know what, coming back to the future of dogs, that is exactly what I hope our listeners will start to build, is a deep faith that their behavior can have huge ripple effects and impact on not only their dog, but the other people they work with, the people they converse with online and on social media, and that ripple effect will start to really positively impact the way that we interact and talk to each other and problem solve together. Because I don't think there is a problem that can't be solved with enough brilliant minds in the room,
Well, it's a great cause. I'm a supporter.
It's been so great to have you, Dr. Cloud. Can you tell us where we might be able to find out more about you, or your materials? Where can people get hold of more of you?
Well, if you just take the little snippet we did on how to have difficult conversations, if you go to the website boundaries.me, that is a platform where I have over 100 courses, everything from difficult conversations and conflict to, relationships and how to make them work, and clinical issues like depression, anxiety, addictions, performance, reaching your goals, all that stuff. And check it out.
It's amazing. Thank you so much.
It's probably the best place to start.
It's a great place. Thank you. And are you on social media? Do you do that?
Yep. Dr. Cloud Official on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and I think my team is doing some stuff on TikTok now. I think. I'm not sure. What's that?
It's a brave new world, TikTok, I have to say.
That's right.
So many options.
And certainly YouTube. I'm all over YouTube if you go there.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Cloud, on behalf of all of our listeners. It's been an absolute honour and a privilege to get to talk to you. And if you've liked this episode, please do like and subscribe. And from me and everyone on the future of dogs, just keep dreaming and believing that your what ifs can change the world.